from the 10th to the 26th of February next year, the ICC T20 Women's World Cup will take place in South Africa. It is the biggest women's sporting event to have come to the continent, not even just the country, to the African continent, and South Africa will be hosting it. The Proteas women will get to be the hosts and see whether they can go on to win that World Cup. And I'm joined by their stand-in captain, Sune Luus, joining us from Cape Town this morning. Sune, thank you for your time this morning. Let's start there by the hosting of this tournament. And as I've explained, it is big. It is the biggest to come to the continent. How important is it for cricket in South Africa, for women's cricket in South Africa, in terms of just getting the nation behind the team, just creating awareness? Because a lot of people might still not be aware that we have a women's cricket national team.
Yeah, 100%. It's huge for a country like South Africa. I think there's still a lot of place in South Africa for women's cricket to be developed, grassroots levels, in the schools as well. And I think having the World Cup in South Africa, like you said, we just create that awareness that, we are doing this at a professional level. We can, as a youngster, if you work hard, you can make a career out of it. So I think it's huge that the World Cup is in South Africa. I think not just for South Africa, but for the African continent as well, just to take it to the next level and just to keep development going.
And are you expecting things to change for the better? And I say that I'm speaking about how generally the situation is with the professional game, or turning professional for women in South Africa, in terms of cricket and just the fans, the sponsorship, everything that is in support of maybe the men's cricket to be the same for women's cricket from the World Cup.
I certainly hope so. I think that's, as much as we want to win that trophy, I think this is a sub-goal that we as a team have for ourselves and for the nation, is if we do well and if we represent the country well, then things like that start falling into place. Corporate sponsors will come on board. More girls will actively start playing cricket at school, and that will, push the schools to create more teams and leagues for girls as well. So I think, without knowing it, there's a lot of pressure on this World Cup for the development of cricket, of women's cricket in South Africa, in terms of all those things that you mentioned. So it's going to be huge, and I hope, everybody's ready for it, and I hope, the corporate companies and the schools and wherever cricket can get involved, I hope everyone is ready for that.
Sune, the bad side of hosting tournaments, if I can put it that way, is that you're expected to win not just every match, but win the entire tournament. Are you starting to feel that as players, that you need to get in a decent performance, at the very least get to the business end of the tournament as players?
I don't think so. I think, for the previous couple of World Cups, we've made semi-finals regularly, and I think that will be our first goal, is to get into that semi-final. But I think for us, it will just be taking it one game at a time. T20 cricket especially is a funny game. Things can turn around very quickly. But I think for us, we are just focused on the preparation towards that T20 World Cup at the moment. We have a camp coming up next week where we'll all be getting together, playing some games, just sussing out the conditions and preparing for that. So I think, as close as the T20 World Cup is, I think it's still a long way to go till we get there. So I think the preparation phase for us is more important at the moment than thinking of that trophy.
Following that semi-final appearance at the World Cup, you this year went to a tour of the UK. It didn't go quite according to plan. Then went to the Commonwealth Games. It also didn't go according to plan, or at least how you would have liked as players and the coach to have performed there. Does the experience, though, help going into such a tournament? I mean, England is one of the top cricketing nations when it comes to women's cricket in the world. The likes of Australia are also up there. But how important has been that experience going into the tournament that you're hosting early next year?
Yeah, the experience has been immense. I think, we have a young squad at the moment with a lot of new players and inexperienced players. And I think, having tours like that to England where you get smashed all around the park, I think that's the experience, or that's where you get that experience from. You don't get it from standing in the nets the whole day or, from sitting on the bench or wherever. It's when you play and you get smashed all over the park. That's when you take, that learnings out of it, and you can come back home. And when you do go to the nets, then you know what to expect and where the level of cricket's at, in countries like in England and Australia. So, no, I think, obviously it didn't go to plan, but everything happens for a reason. I think, hopefully at the T20 World Cup, when we look back and we have that trophy in our hand, we go, listen, that made us a better team, that experience and that tour. So, you can't just win all the time. Cricket is a funny game, like I said, and countries are moving forward, and if we don't adapt and don't move with it, then we're going to fall behind. So I think it was a great learning experience for us, and hopefully all of the girls and the coaching staff, took a few learnings out of it.
And speaking of experience, how crucial will be that from senior players? And you're regarded as a senior player yourself now. There's senior players like Marizanne Kapp, who has done well in tournaments like the 100 in England. There's Mignon du Preez, who's played 1,000 matches, and she stepped down from Test and ODI cricket to solely focus on T20 cricket. How important will that be? And the absence of Lizelle Lee, who this year also retired from international cricket.
Yeah, you obviously, in big tournaments, you need your big players to step up. And it's going to be very important for us to, for all the senior players to really take responsibility and take the game forward and, pull the youngsters with us. So, no, it's going to be massive for all our senior players to pull our weight and, put our best performances on the board for the T20 World Cup. So hopefully, the preparation phase goes well, and when the first ball is bowled, everybody's ready to go.
And there's a shift in attitude, if I can put it that way, Sune, towards women's sport in South Africa. In recent times, we've seen Banyana Banyana doing well. We've seen the Proteas also coming up, the women Proteas. And my next question is because yesterday we heard the Springboks women coach, Stanley Rubenheimer, saying perhaps we need to exercise patience as a country when it comes to the Boks women, that they haven't had enough time, perhaps like their counterparts, to get the team together. Do you feel that we also need to exercise that patience when it comes to the Proteas women? And what else still needs to be done by the top brass towards making sure that women's cricket grows in the country?
Yeah, obviously when you look at our team at the moment, it's a very young squad. So definitely exercise patience. I think, creating that winning culture with a young group of players doesn't just come overnight. So it's going to take a couple of years for us to build our strength and to get to that big team that we were, with all the senior players, and to create new senior players and to create new big names. And that obviously takes time. But I think, there's still a lot to be done in women's cricket in South Africa. As much as we look like a successful outfit, I think behind the scenes, there's no cricket at schools. Club cricket is non-existent at the moment. We're struggling to get a bigger pool of players. So, like I said, as much as we look like a successful outfit and everything looks like it's going well, we have contracts, there's still a lot that can be done behind the scenes. I think as the same goes for the Boks and for the Banyana team and for the hockey team and for the netball team as well. Like, all players, and you can be successful for a certain period of time, but if the development is going well, if grassroots levels is not developed, if there's no school.
All right, we lost Sune Luus there, unfortunately. I just simply wanted to know, they're playing Sri Lanka in the first match. I am told she's back on the line. Just one more question to you, Sune. You're playing Sri Lanka in the first match at Newlands on the 10th of Feb. The plan to be back there in the final on the 26th, just shortly.
Yeah, 100%. Playing Sri Lanka, the opening game, it's going to be ridiculous. I think, the crowds are really going to come out, especially the tickets just being 60 Rand. I think that's really going to draw the crowd in. And, we obviously have a big subcontinent following in South Africa as well. So I'm expecting a lot of subcontinent supporters for Sri Lanka as well. So it's going to be big crowds. Hopefully we can get off successfully and then we can be back there the 26th.
Hopefully, we are all crossing fingers that South Africa is there on the 26th of Feb at Newlands playing the final of the T20 Women's World Cup.